You know that advice, just be happy? Yeah, we've all heard it. And it's supposed to be helpful, but let's be real, a lot of the time it just isn't. It can feel kind of frustrating, maybe even a little hollow. Well, today we're going to dig into why that simple advice usually falls flat and uncover a way more powerful and sustainable alternative. Let's get into it. So, what is the deal with just be happy? I mean, why does that phrase so often feel empty or, even a little bit dismissive? It's because it plugs right into this pressure we all feel, this idea that we're somehow failing if we can't just flip a switch and turn on the happiness. The source material we're diving into today gives us a surprisingly simple answer. It's bad advice because chasing happiness like it's some kind of destination, well, that's the wrong approach entirely. In fact, that constant chase can totally backfire, leaving us feeling even worse when, inevitably, we don't feel happy all the time. Okay, so if happiness isn't the target, what are we supposed to be aiming for? Well, our source points to something much, much more stable: self-acceptance. Now, this whole idea is rooted in self-love, which then naturally blossoms into real self-care. And here's the most important part. It's about the willingness to accept all of yourself: the good stuff, the messy stuff, and especially the parts you're still working on. This slide really just lays it all out, doesn't it? The chase for happiness is this external thing, right? It's all about some future state, some outcome we're desperately trying to get to. But the practice of self-acceptance, that's a quiet, internal job. It's about working on your relationship with yourself, right here in the present. It's a foundation, not some finish line you have to cross. So how do we actually do this? How do we build this foundation day by day? Well, the source material breaks it all down into 7 specific actionable habits. Now, these aren't magic tricks or quick fixes. Think of them as consistent practices you can build over time. And the absolute starting point for all of this, habit number 1, is a huge shift in perspective. You have to be on your own side. I know it sounds so simple, but just stop and think about it for a second. How often is your own inner voice your biggest critic? This is about making a conscious choice to be your own biggest supporter instead. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Being on your own side doesn't mean you have to pretend you're perfect. Not at all. It's all about how you react when you mess up. Do you beat yourself up? Or do you give yourself the same compassion and support you'd give a friend who's struggling? It's about becoming your own support system. Once you start being your own ally, that naturally leads us right into the second habit, making a real commitment to developing self-love. And that word, commit, is so important here. This isn't some passive feeling you just wait for to show up. It's an active, ongoing choice you have to make day in and day out. And what's so crucial here is that this kind of love isn't something you earn. It's unconditional. So even when you fall short, when you make a mistake, or you just don't like how you're behaving, you still recognize your own inherent worth. This isn't a temporary band-aid. It's the long-term support system that gets you through all of life's ups and downs. This commitment to self-love then shows up in what we do, which brings us to habit number 3, practicing true self-care. And I really want to emphasize the word true because, let's face it, self-care gets thrown around so much, it's kind of started to lose its real meaning. And this table really helps clear things up. See, we often confuse self-care with these temporary indulgences, like a shopping trip or binge watching a show all weekend. And hey, those things can be fun, but our source defines true self-care as something way deeper. It's about the foundational stuff that genuinely supports you, things like setting firm boundaries, talking to a therapist, or building a real support system. It's about what truly nourishes you, not just what distracts you for a little while. True self-care also means not running away from discomfort. And that leads us to the 4th habit, which I gotta say is a really challenging one: finding the benefits in every problem. Now, this is not about toxic positivity or just putting on a fake smile. It's about having the courage to look for the lessons that are hidden inside our struggles. Think about it. Every emotion, even the really tough ones like anger or sadness, is basically just data. It's trying to tell you something. This habit is all about learning to listen to those signals and see your struggles not just as something to get through, but as a real opportunity for growth. And what's interesting is that once we start reframing our own struggles, it starts to change how we see other people. And this brings us to habit number 5, which kind of shifts our focus outward. Practice loving others regardless of their beliefs. Now, I know this can be a complicated idea, So our source material gives us some really important guardrails here. So let's be super clear. Loving others does not mean accepting harmful behavior. It is not about having zero boundaries. Actually, setting firm boundaries is often the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for them. Our source calls this creating guardrails of self-protection, and they allow you to love from a place of safety and self-respect. And that idea of healthy boundaries leads us perfectly into habit number 6, which turns all that love right back around on ourselves. Love yourself as much as you love others. For so many of us, this is hands down at the hardest habit of them all. I want you to try this. Think about someone you love unconditionally, maybe a child, a partner, a best friend. You love them, flaws and all, right? This habit is about pausing to really see that unconditional love you give away so freely, and then learning to consciously turn it around and apply that exact same grace to yourself. When you start treating yourself with that kind of grace, you begin to trust your own inner compass more. And that is the key to our final habit. Do what feels really good. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If I only did what felt good, I'd eat ice cream for every meal and never get off my couch. But it's actually a lot more nuanced than that. And this is a super important distinction to get. See, indulgence often gives us that quick hit of pleasure, but it can leave us feeling worse in the long run. Truly feeling good is about a sustainable, healthy kind of joy that lines up with who you really are. You know, that feeling after a great workout, or a deep conversation, or just a walk in nature. The trick is to pay attention to how you feel afterward. That's how you learn the difference for yourself. So when you put all of this together, the big takeaway is this. Self-acceptance isn't some destination you finally get to. You don't just check a box and say, okay, I'm done. It's a daily practice. It's a moment-to-moment choice to show up for yourself using these 7 habits as your roadmap. So we'll leave you with this final thought. Look, it can feel like a lot to try and take on all 7 habits at once. So let's just circle all the way back to the very first one. Ask yourself this. What is one small thing you can do today, like right now, to just be on your own side? Thanks for tuning in.